Okay, in Chapter 6, we talk a lot about the effects of regulations and how taxes affect your purchasing decisions and supplier decisions, also, how much people are going to produce. So let's talk for a minute about the effects of rent control. So rent control puts a ceiling on how much a landlord can pay for or can charge for an apartment. As a renter, that might sound like a really good idea until you go looking for an apartment, because of course, if as a landlord I can't charge as much as I thought I could, I may not buy that apartment that I was talking about. I may not build the apartment I was talking about building. The number of rental housing units is typically going to fall in response to that, to drop in price. Which is exactly what this first one says. The quality of rental housing units falls, and the quantity of available rental housing units is also going to fall. There's no particular reason for people to rent if they can't receive a good return, solid return for that. The last one is the most interesting one. Non-price methods of rationing emerge. These are things like key deposits, maintenance falls apart on rental units, things go downhill. You lose the extras. So buildings that might have had a rec center don't have a rec center anymore, they don't have a weight room anymore, they don't have a swimming pool anymore, they stop maintaining the swimming pool. That kind of thing happens. Next one I want to talk about a little bit is number 2, the minimum wage legislation. This is a hot topic right now since we did in several places have increased the minimum wage significantly. So let's talk about what that does. So if the minimum wage is below the wage most people are earning, which is true, actually. It is the minimum wage, even at $15 an hour, it is actually still under what most people are earning. And at the current level, it is well under what most people earn. Below that level, it's not binding. So below that level, you see over here is our quantity demanded of labor. Over here is our quantity supplied. So if the wage was actually at $6, we want more people to be employed. So what happens then, of course, is that the wage is bid up, and the average wage in an area ends up here at 10. And the minimum wage law doesn't do anything to make that not happen. So I live down in Franktown, the Parker Castle Rock area, and my daughters do not know anybody that's earning the minimum wage. So most kids, even high school kids, are actually earning above the current minimum wage. So that wage has been bid up because there's a shortage of teen workers. Now the next possibility is the minimum wage is above the equilibrium wage rate. So here we are with a minimum wage at 14 when equilibrium wage is 10. So what does that mean? That means more people come into the market. So more people are interested in working at $14 an hour than we're interested in working at $10 an hour. So the supply of labor goes up. The demand for labor, though, goes down. So places figure out how to get by with fewer employees. So I ordered lunch at a supermarket, actually in DC last summer, and you actually ordered your lunch by pushing buttons on a screen on the wall. And then you stood there by this little hole in the wall, and eventually it popped out. So there was somebody back in the back room making my sandwich, but there was nobody doing the ordering anymore. That was all automated. So that kind of thing happens, and the demand for labor goes down. So if you look at this here, we have this many people that lost their jobs. So those people were employed, they're no longer employed because their employers said, well, for $10 an hour, we kept you around. For $14 an hour, we're going to replace you with a X computer, whatever. Or we're going to make the remaining people work harder, which also happens. People that work split shifts happen more, and just in general, more hard work at the office. These people on the other side are people that wanted a job, that now want a job, but can't find a job. So unemployment, in some sense, increased by more than just the job loss. So the summary piece here is that at $6, if the wage is $6, that's non-binding. The pressure on wages is up. If wages are $14 an hour, the pressure on wages is downward. The other piece of this chapter is talking about how to calculate tax incentives, who pays a tax. We tend to think when we put a tax on a good that individuals pay it, or sometimes we put a tax on the supplier side and we think the suppliers are going to pay that. That's not true. Suppliers and demanders and consumers always split the tax. So some of it will show up in higher prices, some of it will show up in less profit. There's not unless if demand was perfectly inelastic or perfectly elastic, then it would fall on one or the other completely, but that's pretty rare. So in general, you can assume that when you're talking about a tax, you're going to split it between the consumers and the producers. So in this particular case, 15,000 cases of cola were sold every week for $6 before the tax. After the tax, we only sold 10,000 cases of cola. Consumers, though, paid $8, and producers received $3 after paying the tax. So the amount of the tax is going to be $8 minus $3. $8 minus $5. That's how much they got after tax. So the tax is $3. Consumers used to be paying $6. Now they're paying $8. So they're paying $8 now. They used to be paying $6. So the consumers are paying $2. The other dollar falls on the producers. So producers used to get $6. Now they get $5. So the producers are paying $1 of that out of profit. So they're making less than they were before. And the economy as a whole is now missing 5,000 cases of cola. So we used to sell 15,000 cases of cola. Now we sell 10. So 5,000 cases of cola are no longer being produced, which is actually really important when you're thinking about putting a tax on something. So not only did producers lose $1 here, they also significantly cut back production. So you can assume that this tax also means that some people lost their jobs, and that can also be important. And then I think there's a couple of other questions in this Appley homework set, but I was going to leave those for you. So give me a call or an email if you need me to work on the others for you. Thanks. Bye-bye.